Hi, my name is Mike. I'm a professor for social work management, and you are listening to Managing Around, the bi-weekly podcast about social science, culture, and management. Managing Around is part of the Talk About Organizations podcast network, a community resource and discussion platform for key ideas in management and organization studies, which is supported by our listeners.
University practice partnerships have a long tradition in the development of higher education institutions. In addition to core tasks of teaching and research, universities have an extended mandate. Activities summarized under the term third mission include, for example, policy consultations, practice-oriented training of future specialists, promoting innovations, and the development of entrepreneurial skills. The aim of this podcast is to provide practical advice on how to make university practice partnerships work in your next project. This can be done through cooperation with members and institutions of the civil society. By doing so, the university practice partnerships can make a significant contribution to the development of society, the creation of social innovations, as well as local and regional developments. In the first part, I will present a case study of a university practice partnership with a small town within the immediate vicinity of our university. The goal of this partnership was to develop innovative solutions for social and economic challenges in rural areas. In the second part, I will present 5 steps to make university practice partnerships work in your projects. Let's start with the first question today. How can university practice partnerships help to improve urban development in rural areas? The following examples should highlight a practical approach to linking university practice partnerships to urban development. The focus lies on generically grown cooperation between a University of Applied Sciences and a nearby medium-sized town. Since 2016, interdisciplinary projects have been carried out at the university with urban stakeholders. Following a decision by the City Council in November 2017 and the initiation of a strategic partnership between the university and the city, the cooperation started with the coordination and moderation of a participatory process to develop a new mission statement for the urban development of that town and the nearby communities. The developed vision should lay the ground for concrete future measures and projects in the municipality up to the year 2030, together with interested citizens and representatives from the city administration, housing, education, and healthcare. In parallel, project staff from the university provided methodological and content-related support for the development of the mission statement at city council and committee meetings and as members of the steering group. The mission statement was finally adopted as the binding resolution by the city council in May 2019. In the course of the process of developing this mission statement, it became apparent that children and young people from the city were only indirectly represented. On initiative of the students' representatives from the general educational and vocational schools, a questionnaire-based survey and evaluation of, amongst others, the attractiveness of services for youths in the city and opportunities for participation in the development of the city was completed. The survey has been prepared by a group of pupils in the summer of 2018 under the scientific guidance of professors from our university and local social workers. The results were overwhelming, and the 730 responses provided not only a representative picture of the rather positive perception and attractiveness of the city for the young people, but also of the lack of leisure activities, restrictions in terms of mobility between surrounding communities and the city, target group specific events, and insufficient places for the personal development of the young people, and especially the desire for a youth meeting place in self-administration. In addition to the aforementioned projects, a 2-semester crowdfunding service learning project was implemented in the academic year 2018 to 2019 with students of the bachelor's degree program Social Pedagogy and Management. After receiving in-depth knowledge in the field of alternative forms of financing in the management of social work institutions, students became then involved in rural social work to practically apply the methods and concepts learned during their studies. The results of the above-mentioned survey were discussed between the pupils and the students, and a crowdfunding campaign for youths was initiated to set up a pupil-run meeting place in their town. This teaching format enabled students to first practically apply social management basics, secondly promote entrepreneurial as well as social and communicative competences, third demonstrate social responsibility in a challenging area of society, and fourth, project-based learning in youth work. The evaluation of the service learning project showed that, for example, the students' perceptions of problems, the uncertainties in clarifying their job, the requirements for structuring learning processes, the necessity of mentoring in decision-making processes, the communication between students and young people, skills for conflict and problem solving as well as team development have been crucial for the execution of this project. The teaching concept of service learning not only supported experiential learning and reflected learning from mistakes, but also a change of role of the lecturer as a learning coach and mentor compared to the traditional role of a teacher. Let's move on to the second part of this podcast today, and I would like to introduce you to steps to make the University Practice Partnership work in your next project. Based on the few previously mentioned projects, I suggest the following 5 steps. Step 1. Define your goals. Ask yourself, what are your goals for working with local partners? What do you hope to achieve through these partnerships? The goals of the University Practice Partnership should be aligned with the objectives of your project and should be SMART. SMART means it should be specific, measurable, assignable, realistic, and time-related. Step 2. Identify your partners. Who are your potential partners in this endeavor? Are there any local organizations that you would like to work with? Who are your regional counterparts? What is the nature of the partnership you hope to form? It is also important to understand what you hope to gain from working with a practice partner, both academically and professionally. This includes understanding their strengths and weaknesses, as well as their areas of expertise. Step 3. Assess your needs. Establish clear expectations for both parties involved in the partnership. What resources do you need in order to carry out your project? What assistance do you need from your partners in order to make your project a success? How will you measure the success of the partnership? All parties need to know what they are expected to become effective, and any disagreements or misunderstandings should be clarified quickly. Step 4. Plan and execute. Develop a timeline and plan of action for the project, as well as milestones that both parties should reach in order to assess the success of the partnership. Be transparent about any delays or unexpected challenges that may arise. Ensure that all parties are aware of their responsibilities and obligations and be willing to compromise when necessary. Step 5. Build trust and cooperation. To build trust and cooperation, it is essential to establish clear communication channels, develop joint strategies, and commit to mutual accountability. Supporting the development of cities through higher education partnerships can be a challenging but rewarding process. By following these 5 steps, you can create a successful partnership that will help your university and partner city to learn and grow. We now come to the end of this podcast and will conclude with a discussion of specific strengths and weaknesses of university practice partnerships. Strength. University practice partnerships can provide a unique opportunity to bridge the gap between academic research and practical application. They can help to expand access to quality education for rural residents and to improve the quality of urban development projects. But there are also some weaknesses. University practice partnerships can be difficult to establish due to the limited number of available partners. It can be challenging to manage due to the different expectations of all parties involved. Having said this, to be successful and effective in the end, different areas of expertise need to be linked to this enterprise: university administration, urban development partners, and public policy. Overall, university practice partnerships can be a very successful way to improve urban development in rural areas. However, it is important to assess your needs and establish clear expectations with your partners in order to ensure a successful partnership. Plan and execute the project carefully while building trust and cooperation between all parties.
Thank you for listening. Managing Around, the bi-weekly podcast about social science, culture, and management. Managing Around is part of the Talk About Organizations podcast network, a community resource and discussion platform for key ideas in management and organization studies, which is supported by our listeners. If you liked this episode, please leave a review on your favorite podcast website. There's also a link in the show notes. If you've got any thoughts on this episode, or if you've got any idea about new podcast topics or questions you'd like to discuss, send me an audio file or voice note to hi@profmanagement.de. For any non-audio comments, drop a tweet or DM to @profmanagement on Twitter or Instagram, please. For more information, visit my website www.profmanagement.de. Thank you for listening and see you next time.